Your soulmate secretly wrote you a love letter. Read it before tomorrow, because their biggest confession is inside. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because the love letter meant for your heart carries a confession your soulmate has kept hidden for far too long. Something has been sitting quietly inside their heart, something they wanted to tell you every time your name crossed their mind, yet the words never came out the way they wanted. But tonight, imagine that sealed letter finally resting in your hands. The first line says, "I wish you knew how many times I almost told you everything." Don't skip, because that is only the beginning. There is a reason this message must reach you before tomorrow, and when you hear the final confession, you may understand why certain feelings never completely disappeared. They tried to stay quiet. They tried to convince themselves that time would make everything easier. But somehow, thoughts of you kept returning in the smallest moments. A familiar song. A quiet evening. A memory appearing without invitation. And every time it happened, the same truth became harder to ignore: you still hold a place in their heart that nobody else has been able to replace. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the deepest line of this letter has not been revealed yet. Now the letter becomes more personal. There is something about you I never had the courage to admit. You changed something inside me without even realizing it. Read those words again in your heart, because this is where everything begins to shift. Your soulmate remembers more than you might imagine, the little things you probably forgot, the way you made ordinary moments feel meaningful, and the strange sense of comfort they felt whenever you were close. Don't skip. The surprising part is coming. They confess that there were moments when they wanted to reach out, moments when they almost said exactly what they felt, but something always stopped them. So the words remained unwritten until now. And then comes the sentence they were most afraid to put on paper: I compared every connection after you to what I felt with you, and nothing felt exactly the same. That is why this letter exists. Not because the past needs to be repeated, but because one truth refused to stay hidden. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The final lines contain the confession that changes the meaning of everything that came before. And now you reach the part of the letter where the handwriting seems almost slower, as though every word required courage. If I could have one completely honest moment with you, I would tell you that my feelings never became as small as I pretended they did. This is the secret they could not say aloud. They may have appeared distant. Life may have moved forward. Silence may have created questions neither of you answered. But inside that silence was something unfinished, a feeling they kept returning to because it mattered more than they expected. Don't skip, because the biggest confession is finally here. If life ever gives me one true chance to tell you what my heart has been hiding, I don't want to waste it again. I want you to know that meeting you was not an ordinary chapter for me. You became the person I could never completely forget. And there is still one final sentence beneath those words, a sentence they almost erased before finishing the letter. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and what they wrote next reveals what they secretly hope will happen between you when tomorrow arrives. Something changed in the final lines of that letter. The words became deeper, almost as if your soulmate had stopped hiding and finally allowed every buried feeling to speak. There is one thing I need you to know before another day passes. I never forgot the way you made me feel understood without asking me to explain myself. Don't skip, because the next confession is the one they struggled to write. They admit there were nights when they wondered whether you still remembered them too. They wondered whether the connection meant as much to you as it secretly meant to them. And every time they tried to close that chapter inside their heart, one memory brought everything back. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because this letter is no longer about what happened before, it is about what they secretly wish could happen next. They wrote, "If you ever felt that something between us remained unfinished, maybe you weren't imagining it. I felt it too. But there is another sentence hidden beneath everything you have heard so far, and this one changes the entire meaning of their silence. I stayed quiet because what I felt became bigger than I knew how to express." Don't skip. Your soulmate is finally admitting that distance did not automatically erase emotion. Sometimes silence simply became the place where all the unsaid words remained. They remember conversations they wish had lasted longer. They remember moments when they almost told you how important you had become. And there is one thought they kept returning to: what if I had been completely honest? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Their letter continues, "If I could return to one moment, I would choose the moment when I almost told you. This time, I would not hide behind hesitation. I would look at you and tell you that you became far more important to me than I ever expected." Then comes the line that makes everything before it feel like preparation for this exact moment. "The truth is, a part of me still wonders what our story could become if we stopped pretending there was nothing left to say." Don't skip, because even that is not their biggest confession. They have one more truth buried at the bottom of the page, and they almost left it unwritten. The final words begin slowly. "If you ever come back into my life with the same feeling I have carried quietly, I want to be brave enough to meet you there." They are not asking the past to magically return. They are admitting something much deeper: what they felt for you became a memory they could never treat as ordinary. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is another page behind this letter. And on that page, your soulmate finally reveals the one thing they secretly wanted to hear from you all along. The hidden page begins with a sentence your soulmate never thought they would have the courage to write: "There is something I secretly wished you would say to me, but I was too afraid to ask." Don't skip, because this is where the letter becomes more personal than ever. They weren't waiting for perfect words or some impossible promise. Deep inside, they simply wanted to know whether the connection had touched your heart too. They wanted to hear, "You mattered to me more than you knew." And every time those words never came, they convinced themselves they should move forward. But something inside them kept returning to you. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what they reveal next explains why your memory remained so powerful. You were never just someone I met. You became someone my heart remembered even when my life became busy enough to distract me. And then comes the surprising truth: they had imagined telling you this confession many times, but every imagined conversation ended with the same question: what if you had been waiting to hear it too? Then the letter suddenly becomes even more vulnerable: "I need to admit something I never told anyone exactly this way. There were moments when I almost reached out simply because I missed the version of myself that existed around you." Don't skip. That sentence matters, because they are not only remembering your face or your voice. They are remembering how different life felt when you were part of it. Certain moments felt warmer. Certain conversations stayed with them longer. Certain memories refused to become ordinary. And underneath all of that was one realization they could no longer ignore. I thought time would give me an answer, but instead it gave me clarity. What I felt was real to me. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is still one sealed truth inside this confession, and it is the reason they kept this letter instead of throwing it away. They wrote it once, stopped, returned to it, and finally added the words they had avoided from the beginning. If I ever get another chance to speak honestly with you, I already know the first thing I want to say. And now you reach that sentence. The one everything has been leading toward. I would tell you that losing the chance to say what I felt taught me something. I never want silence to speak for my heart again. Don't skip, because beneath that line is an even bigger confession. Your soulmate writes, if there is still a door open between us, even a small one, I would rather discover what is on the other side than spend forever wondering. They do not know what you would say. They do not know where one honest conversation could lead. But they finally understand what they wanted you to know all along. You were meaningful enough to become a question their heart never completely stopped asking. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because one final page remains, and your soulmate placed the most unexpected sentence there. It begins with only 6 words, if tomorrow gave us one chance, and what comes after those words is the confession they were afraid might change everything. Tomorrow is exactly where the final page begins. If tomorrow gave us one chance, I would stop hiding behind all the words I never said. Don't skip, because your soulmate saved the deepest truth for this page. They admit that for a long time, they believed silence would eventually make the feeling smaller, but instead it made one thing clearer. Some people enter your life and become impossible to remember casually. You became that person for me, the letter says. Even when I tried to treat our story like something finished, my heart kept leaving one page open. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next line is the one they rewrote again and again. I don't miss an imaginary version of you. I miss the feeling of being completely present when you were near. And suddenly, everything makes sense, the memories, the unfinished words, the questions they carried quietly. They were never waiting for some perfect moment. They were waiting for enough courage to finally admit that what they felt mattered. Then comes the confession they almost removed from the letter. Sometimes I wondered what would happen if we met again and neither of us pretended anymore. Don't skip. They imagined that moment more than once, not as some perfect scene, but as one honest conversation where nothing important remained hidden. They would tell you how often they remembered the smallest details, how certain memories still made them pause, and how they secretly hoped that somewhere inside you, something meaningful remained too. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Their words continue, I cannot rewrite yesterday, but if tomorrow ever places us in front of each other again, I want to show up differently. I want to say what I mean while I still have the chance. And then they reveal something surprising. The letter was never written simply to confess what they once felt. It was written because they finally understood what they would choose if life opened that door again. The last lines are quieter, but somehow they carry the most weight. If tomorrow gave us one chance, I would choose honesty. I would tell you that you mattered. I would tell you that some part of our story stayed with me. And I would finally ask the question I was too afraid to ask before: did you feel it too? Don't skip, because there is still one sentence underneath that question. Your soulmate wrote it separately, as though nothing else on the page could stand beside it. If your heart still remembers me, maybe our final chapter has not been written yet. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because this letter still holds one last secret, something they have never admitted, even to themselves. And when that secret is finally revealed, you will understand why they wanted these words to reach you before tomorrow. Just when you thought the letter had revealed everything, one final folded page appears, and the first sentence feels different from every line before it. There is one truth I kept even from myself, because admitting it would mean accepting how deeply you affected me. Don't skip. This is the secret your soulmate buried beneath every unfinished conversation and every moment of silence. They write, I kept telling myself that what we had would eventually become just another memory, but every time I truly imagined never speaking to you again, something inside me resisted that ending. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they are about to explain what they secretly realized. It was never simply about missing the past. It was about recognizing that meeting you changed the way they understood connection. After you, I knew what it felt like when someone could make an ordinary moment stay in my mind for years. And that realization led them toward the confession they could no longer erase. The next words were written slowly, almost as though your soulmate stopped after every sentence. I finally understand what I was afraid to admit. I didn't only wonder whether you remembered me. I hoped you did. Don't skip, because the biggest revelation is getting closer. They hoped that somewhere, in some quiet moment, you had remembered the conversations too. They hoped you had occasionally wondered what might have happened if both of you had spoken more honestly. Not because they expected an answer, but because knowing the connection mattered to you would mean they had not carried its meaning alone. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then comes the sentence they never expected themselves to write. If I could ask you only one question, I wouldn't ask why everything happened the way it did. I would ask whether your heart ever recognized something special between us two. And underneath that question, they left enough empty space to make the next words feel impossible to ignore. The final confession begins here. If your answer were yes, there is something I would finally be ready to tell you. Don't skip. Every line of this letter has been leading toward these words. I would tell you that I never needed our story to be perfect. I only wished we had been brave enough to discover what it could become. Your soulmate finally admits that the greatest unfinished part of the connection was not a moment, it was a possibility. A possibility neither of you fully explored. And now the last sentence waits at the bottom of the page. If tomorrow ever brings us back to the same place, I won't waste that moment wondering what I should say. I already know. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what they would say in that moment is more powerful than anything written so far, and that final truth is the one they have protected most carefully of all. Tonight, the final truth stops hiding. Your soulmate's letter continues with the words they said they would finally speak if tomorrow brought you face to face again. I would look at you and tell you that meeting you left a mark on my heart that time never completely erased. Don't skip, because even this is not the full confession. They admit that what stayed with them was not one perfect memory, but hundreds of tiny moments they never expected to remember, the sound of a conversation, the feeling of being understood, the strange calm of simply knowing you were there. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then comes the line they were almost too afraid to write. I spent so much time wondering whether I should forget what I felt that I never asked myself the bigger question: what if some connections remain unforgettable because they were genuinely meaningful? And suddenly, the entire letter changes. This was never about chasing yesterday. It was about finally being honest about something yesterday left unfinished. Beyond that confession is an even deeper secret. There were times I imagined seeing you unexpectedly, and every version of that moment ended the same way: I finally told you everything. Don't skip. They imagined no grand speech, no perfect setting, no rehearsed words. Just honesty. I would tell you that you mattered more than my silence ever showed. I would tell you that I remembered more than I admitted. And I would tell you that if you ever wondered whether our connection was real to me, the answer is yes. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate then reveals the thought that kept returning whenever they considered leaving this letter unfinished: what if the greatest regret isn't losing someone? What if it is never letting them know what they truly meant to you? That question changed everything. It is why they kept writing. It is why the final page exists. And it is why the next sentence feels like the moment every previous confession was preparing you to hear. Now the handwriting reaches the bottom of the page, and there is almost nothing left except one final message: if tomorrow gave me one honest moment with you, I would not ask for promises. I would simply tell you the truth. I once cared more deeply than I knew how to express, and a part of me still wonders whether our story had more to say. Don't skip, because underneath those words they added something at the very last moment. If you ever felt the same, then maybe the most important thing between us was never what happened before. Maybe it was what neither of us had the courage to say. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the letter does not actually end there. On the back of the final page, your soulmate wrote one short sentence, circled it, and almost crossed it out. It is the most personal confession in the entire letter, and once you hear what those words say, every mysterious line you heard before will suddenly have a completely different meaning. Behind the final page, one sentence remains, the sentence your soulmate almost erased because it revealed too much: if I had known how difficult it would be to forget you, I would have been braver when I had the chance. Don't skip. Those words are only the doorway to what comes next. Your soulmate admits that whenever they imagined one more conversation with you, they never imagined asking you to explain the past. They imagined finally telling you what the past meant to them. You were the person who made me realize that a connection does not need years to become unforgettable. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is another line beneath it, written smaller than everything else. Sometimes I still wonder whether you felt that strange familiarity too, as if something about us made sense before either of us understood why. That question stayed inside them longer than they ever expected, and now they can no longer pretend it meant nothing. But the most surprising part is what they confess next: I wasn't afraid of having feelings for you. I was afraid that telling you would change everything. Don't skip, because this explains the silence that surrounded so many moments. They wanted to speak, but every time the opportunity appeared, they imagined losing even the smallest connection they still had with you. So they chose silence, believing it would protect them. Instead, silence created the one question they could never answer: what would have happened if they had simply been honest? Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The letter continues, if I could change one thing, I wouldn't change how we met or everything that happened afterward. I would change the moment I decided not to tell you. And then comes a sentence that feels almost impossible to ignore, because the truth I hid that day became the truth I carried much longer than I expected. Now only a few lines remain, and every word feels deliberately chosen. So if tomorrow ever places this letter in your heart, remember one thing: you were never ordinary to me. Don't skip. The deepest confession is still coming. You became a memory I could revisit without trying, a name that could suddenly bring back an entire feeling, and a question I never completely answered. Then your soulmate finally writes what they had been circling around from the beginning: if there is still something unfinished between us, I would rather meet that truth with honesty than spend another chapter wondering. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because beneath that sentence are 4 final words your soulmate wrote after everything else was finished. 4 words they stared at before closing the letter. 4 words that reveal what they secretly hope your heart might still be willing to give them, and those words change the entire meaning of tomorrow. Those 4 words were never meant to be easy: give us one chance. Don't skip, because your soulmate did not write them as a promise or a demand. They wrote them as the most vulnerable possibility hidden inside the entire letter. Beneath those words comes another confession, not a chance to recreate yesterday. A chance to finally speak without hiding. And suddenly, every unfinished sentence from the earlier pages begins to make sense. They were not secretly holding on to a perfect fantasy. They were holding on to one unanswered question: what could happen if both hearts were finally honest at the same time? Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate admits they have imagined that conversation more than once. No dramatic moment. No perfect words. Just 2 people finally saying what silence never allowed them to say. I would tell you that you mattered when I acted like everything was ordinary. I would tell you that walking away emotionally was harder than I ever showed. And I would finally tell you why. Here is where the letter takes its biggest turn. The reason I could never completely close our chapter is because something about you changed what I wanted from a connection. Don't skip. Your soulmate says that after knowing you, ordinary attention no longer felt the same. They remembered how naturally certain moments happened between you, how easily one conversation could stay in their mind, and how unexpectedly important your presence became. But then they reveal something even deeper: I wasn't waiting for you all this time. I was learning why remembering you still meant something. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because that realization gave them the courage to write the sentence they had avoided from the very first page: if we ever meet again, I don't want to meet you as 2 people pretending nothing mattered. I want to meet you as 2 people brave enough to acknowledge that something did. And immediately beneath that line, they added a question: would you recognize it too? Now the letter reaches the words your soulmate wanted you to read before tomorrow. If tomorrow changes nothing, at least these words finally exist. But if tomorrow gives us one unexpected moment, I want you to know what I could never say before: you were important to me, and whatever our story becomes, I will never call what I felt meaningless. Don't skip. There is still one final revelation waiting. At the very bottom, your soulmate added a line after signing the letter, almost like a secret they could only admit when everything else was finished: there is one reason I still believe our story may have another page. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they finally reveal that reason in the next confession. It is not about coincidence. It is not about the past. It is about one tiny moment between you that they never told you they remembered. And according to this letter, that single moment was when they first realized you could become someone their heart would never remember casually. That tiny moment was so ordinary that you may not even remember it, but your soulmate never forgot. Don't skip, because this is where the entire letter suddenly becomes deeper. They write, "There was a moment when you looked at me and I felt completely seen. You probably thought nothing of it, but something inside me became quiet. There was no grand confession, no perfect scene, just a few seconds that stayed in their memory far longer than expected. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they finally admit what happened inside their heart immediately afterward. I remember thinking, why does this person feel different? They ignored the thought. They told themselves it was simply another passing feeling. But later, when they remembered you without trying, they understood that moment had planted a question they could never completely silence. And now, after everything written in this letter, they finally reveal the answer they discovered. The answer appears in one breathtaking sentence: you became unforgettable because around you, I felt something I could not manufacture with anyone else. Don't skip. Your soulmate is not saying everything was perfect. They are admitting that something felt unusually genuine, and that honesty stayed with them. They remember the smallest details because those details became attached to a feeling they never properly explained. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then the letter takes another unexpected turn. For a long time, I thought I needed to forget you to move forward. Eventually I understood that remembering someone does not always mean living in the past. Sometimes it simply means accepting that they changed you. That realization is why this letter exists. They no longer wanted silence to decide what you believed about their feelings. And then comes the line they had apparently rewritten more than any other: if you ever believed you meant nothing to me, I wish I could take that belief away. Now only the final confession remains, and your soulmate writes it without hiding behind another explanation: you mattered. More than I showed. More than my silence suggested. And probably more than you ever realized. Don't skip, because beneath those words is the sentence that connects everything back to tomorrow. If life gives us another conversation, I will not spend it pretending this letter was never written inside my heart. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because one last secret still remains sealed inside the ending. Your soulmate says there is something they would ask you before walking away from that conversation, one question they have carried quietly through every page of this letter. And if they ever stand in front of you again, they already know exactly what those words will be. The question is short. The answer could change everything. And it begins with, if you knew then what you know now. Everything becomes silent around the final question, if you knew then what you know now. Would you have chosen differently? Don't skip, because your soulmate has been carrying that question beneath every page of this letter. They are not asking because they can rewrite yesterday. They are asking because they finally understand how much was left unsaid between you. If I had known how deeply you would stay in my memory, I would have spoken sooner. I would have stopped pretending there would always be another perfect moment. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because their biggest confession is finally beginning to unfold. They admit that the hardest part was never remembering you. It was wondering whether one honest conversation could have changed the direction of everything. And now they write the sentence they once believed they would never have the courage to say, if your heart felt even a fraction of what mine felt, then maybe we both walked away carrying words that belonged in the same conversation. Then comes the most unexpected truth in the entire letter. I never needed you to promise me forever. I only wanted one moment where neither of us hid what was real. Don't skip. Your soulmate finally understands that their greatest wish was never perfection, it was clarity. They wanted to know whether those small moments meant something to you too. Whether you noticed the pauses, the unspoken feelings, the strange way certain memories stayed alive long after the moment itself disappeared. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they have saved one final sentence for the end, the sentence they could not write until every other truth was already on the page. Whatever your answer would have been, I wish you had known that you were important to me. And suddenly the mystery of the letter becomes clear. Every page, every hidden confession, every unfinished thought was leading toward one simple truth. They never wanted you to believe their silence meant they felt nothing. And now the letter finally closes with the words they wanted you to read before tomorrow. If another chapter between us ever begins, I want it to begin with honesty. And if it never does, I still needed you to know that meeting you changed something inside me. Don't skip, because there is one final line beneath their signature. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate writes, if tomorrow places us in the same moment again, I will finally say what I should have said when I had the chance. You were never just another person in my story. You were the person who made me wonder what our story could have become. And beneath that, almost like a whisper left only for you, if you ever wondered whether you were remembered, you were. If you ever wondered whether you mattered, you did. And if you ever wondered whether there was something I never told you, this letter was it.